Dave Smith here. So in the last video we had a look at the making of the book Skiographic Portraits, and in this video I want to talk about this monster here. So the Skiographic Portraits were printed, using a sort of a medieval stitch and tape kind of approach. This one has been bound with a Japanese stab binding approach. Now I have hinged the cover on this but not the back, because this is quite a large book, as you can see. It's a book of panoramas. Not a surprise there, I'm sure. This was much simpler to make because with a stab binding there are no signatures, so you can really just print one at a time. Maybe through Photoshop, for example, which isn't how I did it. I still laid it out in InDesign. But let's start here with the. I've used the same covering technique as I did with the portraiture book. So it's just standard fabric, stiffener ironed onto it, and then used that as the book cloth. It's not disastrous. It's a problem down here at the edges. You can see some of the glue has leaked through, for example, and made it look a little bit messy, but it's not disastrous, I don't think. But that's in any case what I've got. I will do that differently when I next make a book. But let's talk about the paper. This is another Marat paper, and they call it panoramic paper. It's I think it's 230 grams. Only comes single-sided, and it is essentially 2 A4 sheets of paper, and not side by side to make an A3, but end to end to make this panoramic thing. So it is the same surface area as an A3 sheet, but it's end to end, so it's much wider, and so you get this panoramic approach. And as I say, I've done this Japanese stab binding. I've only hinged the front cover. Let's open that up. So there's the hinged front. Got a nice little end page there, title page. And again, I will bring the camera close so you can see this. Got an introduction, little copyright statement there, and there are some of the images. All in black and white, because I prefer black and white. This was much easier to make because it doesn't use signatures. Much easier to bind because the Japanese stab binding is quite swift than this signatures book. And I have some other ideas for books. So I am going to make another much more complex set of books, but that will be later in the year. Okay, so this video much shorter than the last, because really there isn't that much to say about the making of this book. It's really just a bunch of prints that are bound together. The binding is quick and easy. Making the cases was easy. I think I mentioned that I didn't hinge the back. Because this is such a big book, it seemed to me that a rigid back would be much more sensible than hinging the back and just sort of losing a level of rigidity about the book. Okay, so let's get the camera in and look at the images and the setup of this book, and you can see what I've been doing. I hope this is some interest. Hi there. Okay, so here we are. This is a close-up look at the book of panoramas. This is the stab binding here, and if I turn this, I don't know how well focused that will be, but you can perhaps see the stab binding there. Goes around the head and tail at each side, and you can just pick out the hinge here. And again, we've got these marks because of the glue seeping through, which is a bit irritating, but there we go. Live and learn. And this is hinged to the front, just here, I did leave a slightly bigger gap with this hinge, so this should open quite nicely. There we go, and it does. And we've got a title page here, got a bit of an introduction, and let's just have a look at some of the images. So this is Herschel Lynn. I've put some videos up about the shootout at Herschel Lynn. This is possibly one of my favourite images. This is the Yalu River, and we're looking from China across to North Korea. This is Dandong, just in the foreground here, and the border between China and North Korea runs down the centre of that river, and I love this image. Quite interested by this image. This was taken at Blackwall Rocks, which is a beach near me. The bright light you see up in the right hand side there is actually the moon. This was shot under a full moon at night, about 10 o'clock at night. You can see there's a bright light on the horizon, that's a ship. So this is a long exposure, it's a clear night, so very contrasty down here. You see the sharpness of the shadows because there's no diffusion from clouds. This rather dramatic image is shot in infrared, I believe. And this is Auckland Castle, which is the seat of the Prince Bishops. The Prince Bishops moved here in, I want to say the 19th century, although the Prince Bishops were around since the 12th century, but I could be wrong about that. This is an image made in Iceland. This is just an Iceland pony. This is Norway, Ramsberg. This is northern Sweden. That's Bellingham Waterfall in Northumbria. Also North Sweden. Norway. This is Blackstone's Edge on Marsden Moor in Yorkshire. This is another shot. This is again looking across the Yalu River, across to North Korea, from the Great Wall. So I went up and along the Great Wall up to this high point here and made this panorama across the Yalu River. And then just to sort of break up the sort of way that the images are laid out, have used this approach on this spread here. Smaller image against a larger image, and then we have this, and this is another one from the Great Wall looking across to North Korea. Some more infrared images of Auckland Castle. Again, a slightly different sort of layout. This is another one at Blackstone's Edge in Marsden Moor, showing the glacial moraine in here, shot in infrared. This is at Narvik in northern Norway. This is a shot from the Buddhist temple at New Shaoshan in China. This was a spectacular place. This is also shot in infrared. And then a trio of images shot in the Vasa archipelago between northern Sweden and North Finland. This is again the Yalu River. This is the Friendship Bridge just here, and this is the Broken Bridge. The Broken Bridge ends there, and it's quite an interesting spot because it's broken because the Americans bombed it in the Korean War in the 1950s. And when you go along the Broken Bridge, the Chinese have left the end of it all mangled and torn and wrecked from the bombing. But I'm quite interested in the fact that there's none of that bridge left from halfway across the Yalu River. So the Americans kind of precision bombed that bridge from the Chinese-Korean border out towards Korea, but left intact the half of the bridge that was on the Chinese side. Then this Friendship Bridge was this bridge rebuilt after that war, and there's about 100 meters between those two bridges, and you can go along this bridge and you can see the wreckage at the end, and the stanchions are still intact, sort of looking out. And this is all North Korea here. This is Dandong. This is Low Force in Middleton and Teesdale. That's that Vasa Peninsula again, shot in infrared, so you get this very high contrast image. Two views of the Friendship Bridge there. This is a series of drops in the Hershore Burn on the way up or down from Hershore Lynn, depending on which way you're going, I guess. Here are some more images of the beach out at Blackhole Rocks, shot under a full moon. Oh, I've missed one. I do not want to do that. Here's three views of just three separate waterfalls. This is High Force, this is Thornton Force, and this is Rufton Lynn. So these two are Northumbria and this is Yorkshire. These are sheds. This is North Sweden, and these sheds were exactly opposite the house where I used to live. This was shot on 5x4, and there's the end page. So that's the book of panoramas that I made, Japanese stab bound. Pretty pleased. I wish that this had come out a little bit neater, but all in all, both books, really very pleased. So I hope that's all been of some interest. I'd love to hear what you think of them, whether you've made books, whether you might give it a try. Let me know. Bye for now.